On this virtual tour stop, I'm showing you a red-cockaded woodpecker cavity tree. So, looking across the landscape here, you can see that there's a number of these white-banded trees, and each one of these trees has a red-cockaded woodpecker cavity in them. And when I say cavity, one of the things that makes red-cockaded woodpeckers kind of unique is they actually will excavate out a cavity to nest in out of a large diameter living pine tree. So that's a little different than other birds like a pileated woodpecker or something like that that'll oftentimes nest in a dead tree. These prefer live. And the result of that cavity excavation is oftentimes, and if you look up this stem you can kind of see it. I realize the light isn't great here, but you'll notice that there's a lot of sap flow on this tree. So as they excavate that cavity and as they feed on their cavity tree and, peck away at the insects that are in here, it smooths out the otherwise pretty flaky bark of the longleaf and creates a decent amount of sap flow. And, heavy flowing trees can actually be white with that much sap on them. And this one has more of a yellowish green color to it. But I'll stop at a whiter colored tree. And, that does all sorts of things. It can kind of slow down certain insects like snakes and stuff like that climbing up there. It also has some negative consequences in that sap can ignite. So if we do a prescribed burn in these sites, oftentimes if we're not really careful, if we throw a big head fire into these trees, we can actually ignite that sap and it'll go up like a candle. So we oftentimes will have to come in and rake around them. But usually the woodpeckers, they're nesting in these larger diameter trees. Oftentimes we'll see that they nest in what we call flat toppers. So trees that instead of really kind of continuing to achieve height growth, the tops kind of flatten out on them. And trees oftentimes have red heart disease. They'll go after those as well. This is actually a pretty nice straight tree, and most of the trees in here are actually pretty good. This is a pretty high quality site. This actually is not even a natural cavity. If you look really hard on this tree, there's a cavity insert, so a box insert on this one. It's basically a birdhouse. They excavate out a square out of that tree, they take the bird box, they put it in there, they paint it to look like the tree, and the act of doing that, it's oftentimes very successful in drawing in birds. So if you already have woodpeckers in the area, but you don't have those cavity trees, maybe a storm knocked them down, a variety of other things got rid of the existing cavity trees, these artificial cavity inserts can be very helpful. So this is an example of a cavity tree, but it has an artificial insert in it. And actually, I can't really capture this on the camera, but on the other side of the tree, there's a couple of natural cavities in there as well, in addition to the insert. So that's what a woodpecker cavity tree looks like.